Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a super overdue knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Knafs Lander 2, designed by Ben Peterson. If you don't know who Ben Peterson is, actually, you probably do. Almost certainly, most people do. What is up, guys? I obviously can't do it, but you guys might remember him from the old Blade HQ uploads, but super great guy, and this is the second in the Lander series. They're actually on to the third one now, which I haven't taken a look at. But I want to give my thoughts because I think this one is the one that kind of resonates with me the most. Thanks so much to Ben, and actually it was Wea who sent this in. Why does it say Wea on the scales? It came with like a special Wea driver set and knife combo. The standard versions of this knife will just be regular colors or whatever scales you want, because this has that really cool system where you can get custom scales for it super cheap. You can also easily have your own scales made or make your own scales because it's like open source or whatever, which is really cool. The big difference here is that this one requires you to take the pivot off instead of just being able to remove the screws and swap the scales out. Some people might be slightly annoyed by that at worst. I don't find that to be much of an issue. That's one extra step, but I mean, it depends on your perspective. But that is the main difference outside of the locking system and the length. And there's a couple of things. We're going to talk about it. Thanks so much to Ben for supplying this for review. I will link this and other Lander series knives down in the description so that you can take a look. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's up to you. This probably won't be a lengthy review, but I guess we'll see. The overall length of this guy is coming in at 7.5 inches, which is not huge. That's more my size for EDC. The first one is great. It's a little bit small, but still great. 3.25 inches of blade, 3.25 inches of cutting edge. You'll notice here that this has a crossbar lock. Who is the OEM? It is Kaiser this time around. So this is actually a Kaiser clutch lock, or Kaiser's version of the axis lock or crossbar lock, whatever you want to call that, and it works really, really well. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Any custom scales in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and Other. So up against the AD10 and the AD20.5. This is definitely more of an AD20.5 size knife. It's just a little slimmer in overall profile. Let's put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. Once again, close to the size of the smaller option here, but with substantially more cutting edge. In fact, it's got cutting edge that is even more, it's even longer than the Spyderco PM2. Interesting. And then let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and the Hogue Deca. Very similar in overall length and profile to the Hogue Deca. Just a little smoother. How's the action? Well, the action's really good. We can see in here, can we actually see, maybe if I'd use a white, we'll use an envelope, a nice dirty envelope there for us to see back within there. Can you guys kind of see what we're working with there? This knife does run on bearings, and it feels really, really good. It's got it's really straightforward. Most of us at this point have had, like, it feels weird like going through and talking about what you should expect to experience with a crossbar lock combined with thumb studs on a classic knife profile, because I feel like exactly nobody is wondering how that's gonna feel. It feels exactly like what you'd assume, right? We have so many examples of knives that operate this way that pretty much everybody's gonna kind of get it. The thumb studs are in a good spot. They're not huge, but they've got the right number of like steps and texturing or whatever. So it feels very, very organic. This is going to be very familiar. There's not going to be any confusion as far as how to operate this knife. There's no stick, right? I imagine this will continue to break in. I've really just been carrying this for a couple of days, and the experience was essentially exactly what I thought it would be. Kaiser does a good crossbar lock, right? I don't require much more strength of my locking systems day to day. If you require more, then you can test it, all you want. But for me, that's good enough. So it's going to do exactly what I want it to do, and it deploys exactly the way that I expect it to deploy, and it feels good. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. So thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's a little bit thinner there, so that's nice. Length and height up against the PM2 and the Para 3. This guy is very, very friendly to carry. There's no surprises here. It's a good compact size despite being larger than the standard one. I would still consider this to be a small, compact, lightweight carry option. It's definitely going to be a little bit, it's not quite as tall as something like the Para 3. It's way smaller than something like the PM2 with more cutting edge. Let's go ahead and weigh it here. What are we looking at for materials? Your standard variations, I'm sure there's some weird ones here or there, but the standard variations are G10 and S35VN. I thought that the S35VN was like a special thing to do with the WIA edition. I thought surely they have a standard version of this that's 14C28N and G10. No. The other versions, they do a 14C28N. They also do a D2 version. I love that this guy's in S35VN. That is a wonderful steel. It is still a super steel. It's still, in my opinion, one of the very best steels that you can get on an EDC folding knife. It's a very balanced composition, right? Very, very good. It does increase the price a little bit from, something like 14C28N or D2. I feel like there's a fair number of people out there who would prefer this size in the Lander and not the price tag. The price tag's not bad for what you're getting, but it really surprised me that there was not a less expensive version. So I don't know if he plans to do that in the future. I like that you can get this in S35VN. It's just kind of interesting that that's the only choice. But okay, S35VN and G10. And then, like I said, as far as the scale colors go, the standard ones, there's a few options. As far as options outside of that, like if you want to get different scales, there's like a billion. I mean, there are a crap. This remains to be the least expensive customizable knife out there. I mean, you can refresh the look of your knife so many times over while spending a fraction of what you would normally spend with pretty much anything else on the knife market. Now, some people see value in that and some people don't, but it's worth pointing out, if that sounds like you, if you like to change it up, if you like to change the way your pocket knife looks, this is a good example of a knife that you can pretty much just, like, this is kind of like an all-purpose general EDC knife, not in terms of like crazy hard use or anything, but it's a knife that you can buy and just it be your dedicated EDC knife. And if you get bored of the way that it looks, it's inexpensive compared to pretty much everything else out there to customize it and change the scales up, right? Which is really, really cool. So anyways, we have G10. We also have a full nested steel liner in there, and then we have S35VN, which as far as I know, Kaiser does a pretty good job of. So the weight on this guy, I haven't weighed it yet. I'm going to guess it weighs a little over 3 ounces. No, slightly under, 2.9 ounces, which is great considering we have 3.25 inches of blade. The balance on this is slightly behind the pivot, so it feels really, really good. It's like, this is a super basic profile, but everything that you would expect this to be, it is, right? There's no surprises here. It is exactly good in pretty much every area, that you would want like a standard, straightforward, utilitarian EDC knife. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check on this guy. I'm going to get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. Your pivot's going to be a T8. Your body screw here is going to be a T8. And then your pocket clip screws, which is slightly irritating to me, like more so than the fact that you have to now remove the pivot in order to change the scales out. The one thing that it's not a big deal. I'm just like, God dang it. Like, I just want that seamless, like, make them all T8. And I know a lot of times we just don't see that. We see T6 screws, but I feel like a T8 head could easily have worked for the pocket clip and the filler tab, and that would have just made it that much easier. So now you have the combined step of changing the bit to T6 to get this guy out, and then also doing the pivot. Is that a big deal? No. That is a super nitpicky thing, but it's something to be aware of. The only way that that's really going to make somebody mad if they're like, I got my schedule is this from 9 to 10:30, and then I got to swap scales because I'm going to a meeting, and the client that I'm trying to impress, their favorite color is blue, so I got to switch it out to blue scale. Like, I just can't imagine a scenario where you're changing the scales so often that you're like, freaking out about changing it. Whatever. It's something to be aware of, but it's really not that big of a deal. Let's go ahead and measure the blade stock thickness here real quick. So blade stock thickness on this guy, we need to change this out again. There we go. Okay, I'm going to guess that's 115. No, even thinner, really? Let's look again. Yeah, 108 thousandths is the measurement I'm getting, so nice and thin. Okay, we waited, we did all the stuff. Meat and potatoes time. This is straightforward. I don't know that, I feel like pretty much anybody could arrive at the same conclusion about this knife just by looking at it. You have a nice open ergonomic profile that's going to work out for people who like the idea of the Lander, but the other two versions, I believe the 3, which I have not handled yet, is also smaller than this guy. So if you like the idea of what this is, but you're like, it's the other versions are too small, this one might work out for you. It's very open in the ergonomic department, right? So despite being a knife that is sub 8 inches, this is open. It's super comfortable. It's straightforward, right? Subtle curvature of the handle, no contouring, nice peel ply textured G10, just exactly what you'd expect. And then you have, I'm going to call this a drop point blade. You can call it whatever you want. Behind the edge, reasonably thin. It's going to slice, it's going to poke, it's going to cut. It's S35EN, so the edge is going to last a decent amount of time. It's stainless. Pretty tough considering the department of composition that we're in, right? Not like 3V or anything, but you know, for what this is, yeah, reasonably tough. And S35EN is pretty friendly to touch up and resharpen, so it's just a really, really good balance. And I'll remind you guys that S35EN is one of few steel compositions that were actually developed specifically for pocket knives. Most compositions are not developed specifically for pocket knives. They have some other primary application, and then at some point someone was like, let's make a pocket knife out of that, right? S35EN was developed for pocket knives. So generally speaking, those types of steels are going to be the friendliest, right? It won't normally say WIA, so it'll be plain and open. Like people who like just a more generic EDC knife without a lot of flashiness or this or that, they'll probably really enjoy this aesthetic. It has the Knafs logo right here, which is fine. I always prefer that things are smaller or non-existent, right? But this isn't that big of a deal. It's not like putting a big logo out here in the middle of the blade. And I think it obviously, you see it a lot easier because this is the black washed version, right? You can get a version of it that's just like a standard satin or tumbled. I forget what the other option is. It won't show up quite as much. And then on the other side, it says, it's got the what is up guys, and then it says Lander 3 S35EN. Again, wish it was reduced or just not there, but I can understand them wanting to put it there in some capacity, so that's fine. The tip, fine, it's a tip. It'll poke, it'll cut. The bevel is even all the way back. A little bit of a sharpening joil-ish, I guess if you want to call it that, right? I mean, it's fine. Sharpening it should be pretty easy. It's worth mentioning while you're using it, the thumb stud is slightly in the cutting path, but not bad. Honestly, this is going to do exactly what you want it to do, which is tackle light to medium standard EDC tasks, right? And given that it is a crossbar lock, it will probably hold up to a little bit of extra sauce if this is your dedicated work knife, right? You got about a billion options out there, but if you choose to use it for that, it should be fine. These locking systems are known for being, more reliable and stronger, generally speaking, than something like a liner lock or a plunge lock. So you should be good to go as long as you're not abusing it. It's also a completely ambidextrous locking system, which is great. If you're left-handed, Ben has made sure that there is a place for the pocket clip to be mounted for left-handed people, making your experience literally identical to a right-handed person, and that's really, really cool. There is no lanyard hole. I love that. I've never specifically looked up or asked Ben about his preferences on lanyards, but this makes me believe that he does not like them. So he just didn't put it on there. If you love lanyards, you're kind of SOL. But if you don't care, if you're like me, then great. There's no hole to look at or anything like that. Just a couple of standoffs back here. There's really nothing to talk about. The pocket clip is fine. I like clips that kind of drop from back here and just do a little bit of a swoop. I always use the MXG clip for the Para 3 as an example of a nearly perfect pocket clip. But this is fine. The straight and then the dip and slight, as long as it doesn't come up and over and create like a hook, right? It's also a shorter clip. So for the limited space that you have on the handle, which actually isn't that limited, I'm really comfortable. The bill of the clip is back here. It's not in the middle of my hand, which I find super irritating, especially if I'm, using the knife, over and over and over again, or I'm using it for a long period of time. It's not a comfortable position for the pocket clip. So I do like that. It's riding on top of some light peel ply texturing, so this will fray up your pants over time, but no big deal. Your stop pin is located back here. There's no shouldering, that's fine, you don't need it. No blade play, up, down, left, or right. No lock stick at all with the clutch lock. No pivot lash. Smooth and consistent in here. And a nice, just expected, like event horizon style pull or snap back into the closed position. It's not a super, high tension system. The Omega springs on this are about medium, right? It's pretty much like this is so exactly what you think it is. There's just nothing specifically to point out and be like, here's something unexpected. I feel like most people can look at this and go, I know exactly what this is, right? So yeah. What's the final price tag on this? Oh, we didn't look at the centering. I'm sorry about that. We gotta look at the centering here. How's the centering? The centering is spot on, and I haven't adjusted it at all. That's all the times I've flipped it while I've been using it, everything, right? Price tag on this is $130, which falls right into essentially the expected territory for Kaiser stuff that is made with similar materials. Perhaps slightly higher, but for S35VN, I feel like that's right where I kind of expect it to be. I think a lot of people would love to see this type of knife under $100. And I know that every now and then we do see some Chinese competition that lands steels like 20 CV and S35VN under 100. But this whole territory, like between 100 and 150, is typically where we see this type of stuff. I think you could argue that the construction is very simple. There's nothing really complicated going on with the scales, and they are G10. So it's basically just the blade pumping it up to that price tag, and it's kind of a fair argument, right? So maybe it is slightly higher than I would have wanted to see it, but not so much that I'm offended by it. And honestly, this is the type of knife that's just going to appeal to such a massive range of people because it's so simple, it's so safe, it's so ergonomically friendly, it's so friendly in the utilitarian department. It's just for people like not really wanting to get into the crazy side of the knife world, this kind of has everything that you'd want. There's a downside to the Omega springs because they are susceptible to breaking over a long period of time. Personally, I've never had an Omega spring break. For example, the Omega springs in the Ritter Hogue are the same ones from back when I got it, and this knife is engaged and disengaged literally every single time I do a review, which if you know how many videos I have, that is a lot. It's a size comparison knife. So in some situations, an Omega spring will not fail, right? Same with the Hogue here. A newer size comparison knife compared to the Ritter Hogue, but the Deca compared to the Ritter Hogue. But that one has also not failed. So yours could break in a day, very unlikely, or they could go for years and years and years and never fail. I have a feeling that getting replacement Omega springs for this guy will not be difficult, but if you like the idea of something simple, straightforward, utilitarian, has really good steel, and something that is easily customizable, a couple more steps than the standard one, but if that's all what you're looking for, this is that knife, right? Personally, I like this one the most so far, just given the size of it. This is definitely the size of knife that I think appeals to me the most. So yeah, I think this is a good knife. Nothing here to freak out about, or oh my gosh, I have to have that. It's not nothing like that. But it's like it's just a good knife. It's exactly, I know I've said this a million times, it's exactly what you'd expect it to be, right? And no surprise that Ben, would make something like this. So yeah, this is a recommendable knife. I think if you've, been on the fence about it, I think you'll enjoy it. It's a good one. That's going to be it today, guys. Links for this guy and other Lander series knives down in the description. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.